The crew, my beloved, you shall return once again. I think if you ask most people, they will say the crew one is the one that they love the most. Unless they join the series late, obviously. It has been a year and a half since the game shut down, and as soon as that happened, this community team over at The Crew Unlimited started working on getting this game working once more. This is such an incredible thing. I'm always blown away with people that have the minds to do this type of thing. What they did is took what the game was reporting to the server, like, hello, I need this, and then what the server is reporting back, reverse engineered those things to make it so that they could create a fake server so that the game receives what it's asking for. Therefore, the game is playable. This is just my mind wants to blow up. Let's get straight to the information you may want to know, though. The date. When can we access the game? And my friends, it is so much sooner than I thought it was going to be. This is happening on September the 15th. We will be able to play this game once again. And I want to scream. Now, there are some bits of information you may want to know. Things like, oh, are we going to be able to play online? Is this offline? What is the first stage? What's the second stage? What other new things are available? And that's what this video is for. I'm going to wrap everything up so we know exactly what's going on. So first things first, this is The Crew Unlimited. This is the logo. It's very nice, very cool. You can find a link down below in the description to their Discord. You won't be able to access it right now if you're watching the video early, but if it's the 15th or after of September 2025, you can get your ass on The Crew on PC. This is something that should surely be obvious. This is something that just wouldn't be feasible in the same way on a console. But to be clear, it is possible that in the future, there is a chance that we could get it going on console. This happened with the TDU2 server project. It's happened before, but that's something to explore in the future. Right now, this is for PC. What is this project going to be exactly? So you're going to be able to play the game offline, your own machine. Just play it locally, saving, exporting your save games like you couldn't before. But also, after that, there's going to be a multiplayer portion. So yes, the initial release of this, which is on their fancy new website they created for the project, the 1.0 release is for the single player experience. Also, I noticed they put me on the credits on the website. There I am. Look at that. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bless her. So on this initial experience of The Crew, what we're going to have access to is the game of The Crew. But you may also know and mentioned in the past that there is a chance that modding would come to the game. Also, cheats, because we are detaching from the Ubisoft servers, meaning you could do whatever the hell you want to do in your own server, in your own session, if you were. So I've pulled out some comments from their Discord to show you exactly what this is going to look like, because this is pretty exciting. So first things first, let's quickly talk about mods, because those are the most significant changes. So this gameplay was posted by one of the main guys working on the project, and this video essentially shows something that they've decided to do, which is part of the modding tools they're going to be releasing. Now, their modding tools supposedly aren't coming straight away. Again, this is all like, I'm pulling information from multiple locations here, but a lot of people didn't like what Wild Run did to the physics of the game. It made the cars really heavily like magnetized down to the road and a few other things. That has been modified. They're able to get into the handling configuration. This is something that wasn't possible previously with the game, because the game was tied to servers, and if you tried to make any changes, the game would just lock you out and you would never be able to play. It just wasn't possible, essentially. And say, for example, some changes you would need to make on both the game and the server, otherwise it just wouldn't work. And so what they've managed to do is get the pre-Wild Run jump physics into the game, while at the same time keeping the Wild Run improvements in place. This is a huge thing. The fact they've managed to do this is really cool. Now, one thing I am curious about, I don't know how many of you played The Crew at launch, but basically what happened a lot of the time is your car would just randomly fly into the sky. Generally didn't have any game-breaking issues with that, but I wonder if now we're going to see more of that return. Anyway, this is really cool, and it's going to introduce some changes like this, but also the ability to change like the skies, change textures, change vehicle handling files in general. This could be huge. Can you imagine a point where you can go on a different server and all the cars are completely different if you download their specific version? This could be insanely huge. Anyway, That's to come in the future. They haven't mentioned if modding is coming so far, but what is coming is cheats. What are all the cheats you can use? Come on, I don't want to spoil it yet, but all the expected money, XP car stuff will be there. So if you want to just blast through the game, unlock absolutely everything, you'll be able to do so. This is something that was just not possible previously. So if you wanted to try a car that you weren't able to previously get because you couldn't do, you didn't have skills, then you'll be able to do it this time. So that LaFerrari looking very nice. This is also very much worth knowing. They've added full save game management so you can create, delete, import, export save games. So we can share save games around between machines, between people, I'm sure, if you so wish to. And you have the ability for, if you did dump your save game previously, you'll be able to now actually get that running, which I am insanely jealous of. I was playing on PlayStation, which means my save is gone. Poof! This is why I'm switching to PC mostly. So you'll be able to have 2, 3, 20 save games if you wish to do so. So you can have a proper one where you focus in and you do the grind and you unlock everything. And then you have your other one where you just mess about with things you weren't able to do so before. This is really sick. I would love to see things like being able to set the weather, the time of day, that type of stuff for the sake of the photo. I guess you could already do it in the photo, but for the sake of gameplay, would be magnificent. I would love to see something like that. Now, there's also a bunch of things in this game that allow you to create missions. There's the summit that kind of relies on multiplayer. The question of, like, what about those functionalities? Are those going to be usable? Are they going to be playable? From what we know, the summit is going to be playable. What they managed to do is create it into like an environment where it's like simulated. That's the last we heard of it. I don't know the exact changes between now and what's coming in the future, but the game is coming and I am so excited, and you know for a fact I'm going to be covering it right here on the channel, so please be sure to subscribe if you would like to see me once again smash through this beautiful stunning game, but also just cheat the hell out of it. Because right, let's talk about the obvious part now. The Crew is a multiplayer game. Never drive alone. That was the thing that would come up at the end of the trailer. Very cool. So in this case, we will be driving alone. But the idea is that they've already accidentally got most of the multiplayer functionality working. But right now, they don't want people to put the time in, put the effort in. Just like with releasing a game, they don't want people to do that. Their saves corrupt, the machines crash, everything go to poo-poo. So what they're doing is they are releasing it in stages. That is why the single player is coming first, and then the multiplayer is going into a beta test not long after, I'd imagine. Now, as someone that's played a lot of the multiplayer in The Crew, something I know that happened previously in the game is a lot of desync issues where cars would just despawn, you couldn't see your friends. Like, if they can solve that, maybe by doing a heavier instancing method rather than the drop-in, drop-out multiplayer stuff that they've got in there already. If they can redo that completely to where you can see everyone at all the time and you could just limit it by, server, I think that would be a much better way and a much more fun multiplayer experience than was available at this current stage. And again, we're not limited by hardware like the PS3 or the 360. It wasn't on PS3. The PS4 or the 360. But the campaign is probably the themic wise one of the best elements compared to the later games. The later games didn't improve. I don't want to sit here and say those games didn't improve anything. The campaign was the highlight realistically for me. The rest you could say improved. The handling and physics and everything improved, I believe, with the Crew Motorfest. And of course the replayability improved with the Crew Motorfest in terms of every time you jump in the game, there's something new to play. But there's just something about, and I've been playing Mafia. I'm playing through it for a second time now, the newest Mafia game, the Old Country. There's something about an experience where you do A to B, and then there's extra stuff around it that just feels right. It feels like an era of gaming we're losing. And that's definitely one of the highlights that I'm looking forward to with this. I'm getting straight on it with the single player. You understand? So back to beta 2. This was posted, well, earlier this year. Due to the unexpected length of beta 1.5, we decided to postpone beta 2 and 100% focus on the offline release and get it out as soon as reasonably possible. This means we'll focus on the offline mode first and online beginning afterwards, and beta 2 will be part of that. Until then, we'll be working hard and finishing things up to the remaining expected offline features, fixing bugs for release. You get the idea. Absolutely the way to go, in my opinion. If we would have to wait longer for the multiplayer section when we could just be playing right now. In the progress report of beta 1.5, you can see their main takeaways that the campaign is fully playable in co-op. Of course, that's now a little bit on hold. Private PvP was playable with your crew. You get all the specs, all the cards can be maxed out. The factions seem to work better in a multiplayer setting, but they didn't test with as many people as they would like to test. That's what beta 2 will be for. People will be playing the game, and then we want to jump onto the multiplayer, so it kind of makes sense. Then surprisingly, the police chase calling all units PvP works with players in your lobby, which means you can also play the calling all units police versus racers PvP. This is one of those moments where it's like, surprisingly, it almost just kind of happened and to work that way. We've actually seen some previous footage in one of these previous catch-up videos that I did. Anyway, it has been super interesting watching all of this unfold, and of course, I am so happy that something like this exists. I mean, the crew, we completely lost it, and now we'll be able to access it again less than 2 years after the fact. That is impeccable work from such a small group of people that didn't work on the game. This isn't Ubisoft providing this type of update. This is something that's been done on the basis of a community that just so passionately loves the crew. 1. The Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest are already getting offline patches officially from the soft themselves. Well, I should say from Ivory Tower. They're working really hard. Those, we will apparently see the Crew 2 based on their update. The Crew 2 will get its offline mode patch very soon, and Motorfest will then be after, because a lot of the Crew Motorfest kind of ties to the makeup of the Crew 2 in terms of what the servers are asking for, data points in terms of like parts, all of those are similar, and then there's extra layers on top of it. So that's why they're doing it in that order. It makes sense. What I think they called it was their hybrid mode is coming first. So that's going to have the ability to jump between, but also keep your save. And then it's a crazy amount of rework for them to do. But it just kind of feels great that we're going to have all of these games playable offline, which almost feels like I can then fuel the ability for me to want to play these games more, knowing that ultimately I'll be able to go back at any point in time and look and reap the rewards of which I did. Now, huge request to the developers on this. I really would like to be able to export my save game and be able to give it to the multiplayer servers, almost have my save jump around with me. If that is something that is possible, even if I have to manually do it myself, I think this would be ideal. I know this could cause some cheating issues, but maybe have one server that lets you do this, because playing in a big session with multiple people, free reign to create our own fun challenges and things, I think that's worth it. And then maybe a lockdown one where you can't do that, like a PvP one. And then that makes sense, right? Anywho, that's what I've got for you, friends. We will soon be back in the diner, spilling a cup of coffee because our phone started ringing. Why would you be so like... We're going to talk about you, buddy. Link in the description. Check it out, and I will see you on the road in beta 2. But also, like, see you on the road just one way, because single player very soon. Until next time, check out the other videos here if you want more information.